If you're planning to work in Japan, you should know that depending on your employment type, your opportunities for career growth, salary raise, promotions, and other benefits will also change. There are three main types of employment in Japan: Seishain, also known as permanent employment, contract employment, and hakken employment, also known as dispatch worker employment. So let's find out what each of these terms mean. For those who don't know me, my name is Tanya, and here I talk about living and working in Japan. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, you know what to do. Okay, let's go! This topic might be a little bit boring, but please stick to the end because if you want to work in Japan, knowing employment types is really important. First type is Seishain, also known as permanent employee. This is the most stable and I think the best employment type in Japan. What it means is that you don't have a specified end date of your contract with the company. Seishain are considered core employees of the company, permanent employees, and they enjoy benefits such as career growth, promotions, salary raises, housing allowance, and so on. Seishain employment in Japan is comparable to a regular employment in other countries, with the big difference that it's really hard to fire one here in Japan. Japanese labor laws are super protective of their employees, and that is why for a company to fire one, they need to come out with a very good justifiable reason, such as money laundering, fraud, some kind of misconduct conducted by the employee. So unless you commit some kind of crimes, it's pretty much impossible to fire you. This is why being a Seishain is very stable, because you can stay at the same company for their entire life, and this is what a lot of Japanese actually do. In Japan, the phenomenon of lifetime employment is really common, and this is what people do. They enter a company and they stay there until they retire at the age of 60 or 65. In my previous company, most of the older generation workers were like that. They would enter a company when they were about 20, so they would work at the same company for 40 years. For a lot of Japanese people, being a Seishain is a very attractive path to stability. And it's generally difficult to advance your career if you're not a Seishain, because you would be seen as a temporary worker that can leave the company anytime. You might be wondering, okay, if a company cannot fire me, can I leave a company anytime? Well, yes, definitely. There is no legal binding for an employee to stay at the same company any number of years. In my case, I left my first company less than a year after starting work there because the cultural values just didn't align with me. And it was a very smooth process, even though the company was very conservative, very traditional, and I expected that they would be a bit reluctant to let me go. Younger Japanese people do change companies at least 2-3 times in their lifetime. After listening to this, you might think a Seishain position is really attractive, and I do believe so, but it comes with a bit of a responsibility. If you are a Seishain, a permanent employee, you will be expected to conform to the culture of the company because you're a representative of this company. And companies would usually expect you to be loyal to them. What I mean by loyal is to participate in some kinds of events such as drinking parties, conform to their culture, doing some overtime work, putting an extra effort in your job. While some people would prefer not to do that, I still believe that this is a fair price to pay for stability. Because hiring a Seishain is a risk for a company, basically they cannot fire you in case you turn out to be incompetent. Usually Japanese company would have a long probation period ranging from 3 to 6 months. In both companies I worked at, it was 6 months probation period, after which I would become a regular employee. Have I convinced you that being a Seishain is the best employment type ever? Well, I hope so, because I really do believe that, and if you're aiming to work in Japan, I do recommend that you aim for Seishain positions. And you're probably wondering what's the difference between Seishain and other types of employment? Well, let's find out. Contract type of employment is a temporary work arrangement with a fixed start date and end date of the contract. Contract workers are usually hired for a period from 6 months to 2 years with a possibility of renewal. At the end of the contract, the employer might choose not to renew the contract, so this position is not as stable as the Seishain one. In terms of job scope, contract workers are usually hired for specific project-based positions or as assistants to Seishain during the peak periods when the company needs extra hands why they do not want to hire full-time employees. Because of the temporary nature of this position, contract workers do not have career growth opportunities or salary raise as much as Seishain do. Contract positions do lack stability and growth opportunities, so they are not as attractive as Seishain positions. Especially for foreigners, if your contract is not renewed, you will only have 3 months to find another job, otherwise you would have to leave back to your country. On the contrary, being a contract worker comes with less responsibility. You'll be less responsible for what's going on in the project. For example, you would not need to conform to this culture of the company. You would not be expected to attend all the parties. So this is great for people who do not like to stick to one place for too long and want a bit of a flexibility. Contract workers are also usually paid per hour, so in case you have extra work, you do overtime, you'll be paid for this overtime work, unlike some Seishain. It might also be easier to get into big companies such as Google or Amazon as a contract worker first, prove yourself there, and then get hired as a full-time employee. This is what a lot of foreigners do because some companies do not trust foreigners to become a Seishain immediately. Another type of employment is hakken work. Unlike in the first two job arrangements I just described, contract work and Seishain, where you work directly with the company, you sign a contract directly with the company, in case you're a hakken, you will have to work through a medium company, a staffing agency, that would be responsible for everything employment related, such as salary, remuneration, and even job search. The way it works is that you sign a contract or you become a permanent employee at this staffing agency and they start searching for a job at their client companies for you. In many ways, hakken work is similar to a contract work with a big difference that everything is handled through a medium company. Typically, hakken work is clerical, project-based, some administrative roles that do not require much decision making. In my previous company, hakken workers were doing some kind of routine tasks such as creating shipping labels or responding to clients. And just as with the contract workers, being a hakken worker, you're not expected to conform to the culture of the company, so it might be a good arrangement for people who do not like to stick in the same place. And before you accept a job offer, it's very important to check what kind of employment you will be at. There are 3 ways to do that. First is at the job posting. Sometimes they don't say it, but most of the time they would say it's either fixed term position or non-fixed. In case it's a non-fixed position, it means it's most probably a Seishain position. Second, I do recommend to ask about it during your interviews. And third, when you are signing the contract itself, you can always check it. In my case, at my previous work, it clearly stated that the contract has no term. You can see here, no term of employment. It means that it has no end date and it means that it's a Seishain contract. I'm going to record more videos like this about working in Japan, including interviews with people who made it here, so make sure you subscribe to my channel so you do not miss more useful information. Okay, this is it for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Please like it, subscribe to my channel, and I see you later.